So to finish up our discussion about the PowerPoint format, we'll focus on conclusions, references, and your question and answer portion. So for conclusions, your conclusion slide is meant to be like if your audience goes away from your journal club, this is the one thing that you want them to remember. So try to condense your conclusion to 1 or 2 sentences. If you are unable to do that, try to just pare it down as much as you can. So if your audience only remembers one thing, it should be this conclusion statement. And then on top of the conclusion statement, you can kind of summarize, well, how does this apply in real life? Sometimes people include this portion in the discussion portion, and sometimes they include it here on the conclusion slide, as I have. I just think it pairs really well with the conclusion statement because you can say your conclusion statement and then relate it to, and this is how it would affect your practice or my practice. And it's just kind of a nice summary. So as far as your conclusions, make sure that the conclusion is not your own statement, but it's what the researchers found. And then it's in the practical implications is where you can infuse it with your opinion. So the conclusion is meant to be, what did the study find, period. And then the practical implication is, how does it relate to real life? As far as your reference slide, a lot of different preceptors will, prefer one way of citing over the other. All of my preceptors have preferred AMA, or American Medical Association, I believe is the acronym. And what's really neat is you can actually go to PubMed and click on Cite, and you can actually have it change formats. So for AMA, I would click AMA, and then you can just copy and paste. Some of your preceptors will want you to hand write the citations. Some of your preceptors, will prefer some of these other citation styles. It just ask your preceptor at the beginning of your rotation what they prefer. And similarly, if your school gives you direct guidance about what to use, please defer to what your school says. But this is just a nice, quick and easy way to cite something. And another thing to note is you don't need to go down and explain all your references. You simply just need to say, these are my references. And if anyone asks for a specific reference, I find it really helpful if you actually hyperlink your references. So what that means is you can highlight the reference, right click on it and click link. And you can actually just paste the URL of the location of the reference. And so if someone asks, hey, can I read this reference, or can you pull up this reference, you can quickly do it from your presentation itself. And it's just a really easy way to organize all your references in one place as well. So then for the question and answer portion of your presentation, it's really helpful, in my opinion, if you actually end your presentation with your title slide. And the reason why I feel like this is so helpful is because oftentimes I'll see presentations ended with just a big question mark, or with just a slide saying questions with a question mark. And for anyone who popped into your presentation late, if anyone, kind of forgot the overall gist of what was being discussed, it can be really confusing, and you're going to get a lot of radio silence and not many questions. However, I've noticed since using my title slide as my end slide for questions, it's a lot easier for your audience to reorient themselves to the purpose and title of your presentation, and they can go ahead and ask you relevant questions. And it just looks a little bit more professional than just a slide with a big question mark. So it's really up to you. This is, again, very stylistic and very much my own preference, but just something to consider. Instead of a big slide with just one word on it, just include your title slide. You can add, any questions in a little text box or whatever you need to do, but just something to consider.